We thank everyone for making the effort to be here this evening. We know this is a little different than what we were anticipating for this evening, but with the threat of thunderstorms and almost being caught in thunder and lightning last year, a decision was made that this might be the best option. We've been thinking about having an alternative plan, so I guess we have a chance to try it out on the fly, so to speak, this evening. But again, I thank you for being here for this very important ceremony in the life of our community, and we're very happy to be able to come together on the beginning of this Memorial Day weekend to honor not only our veterans who have served and died in service, but those who have served and those who are serving now as well. At this time, we will have the parade of colors. If you would please rise as the colors are brought in. Please be seated. At this time, our veterans from Sunderland will come forward for the placing of the wreath. I'm honored to have the Reverend Barbara Siemens here to do an opening prayer. Reverend Siemens has a relative, General John Logan, who was the commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, who is credited with giving the general order that May 30th, 1868 should be proclaimed Decoration Day, when flowers were placed on the graves of both Union and Confederate soldiers in the Arlington National Cemetery. He decreed that it was to be a day of remembrance and honor for those who served and gave their lives, and the general order included the idea of decorating the mounds. That's how it got its name, Decoration Day, with springtime flowers to symbolize the rebirth of life in the springtime that we experience a little late here in New England than we do in other parts of the country, but it's slowly coming as we look about this beautiful valley of ours. And that practice should continue in ensuing years for as long as there were people who remembered that battle and that war. And eventually it became Memorial Day and is celebrated ever since at about this time of year. So without any further ado, I would ask the Reverend Barbara Siemens to come forward and provide us with our opening prayer.
Let us pray. Merciful God, we come before you this evening endeavoring to hold fast to the memory of those who have gone before us, willing to sacrifice their lives for others. We are here to honor them. Help us all to never forget their service. Remind us, O God, of your power and your grace that transforms lives and conquers death. Be with us this evening as we hear each name read. Give us the peace that passes understanding, that we may know your presence that transcends all time and all space. In thy holy name we pray, amen.
And at this time, I'd like to ask our principal of the elementary school, Ben Barshevsky, to come up and give you a word of welcome.
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us at Sunderland Elementary School for tonight's event. And thank you for being so flexible in the moving of the event at last minute's notice. One thing we certainly can't control is the weather, so we appreciate everyone's effort. Memorial Day is an opportunity for us to remember and honor those servicemen and women who have given so much sacrifice and heroic effort to our country. So without further ado, next up on the list, thank you so much.
We have the honor of honoring, if I can do a double, whatever that is, our oldest veteran in the town of Sunderland, James Clark Williams, who fittingly was born on May 30th in 1923, Memorial Day. While attending the university, let's give him a big hand of applause. He finished at UNH in the spring of 1943 and was sent to Cornell to study until called at Parris Island and later to officer training at Quantico, Virginia. It was at this point that he attended his first funeral. It was memorable for many reasons, one of the most important being that it was the funeral of President Roosevelt, April of 1945. And as a young man who was serving and represented the Marine Corps that day in historic tribute, he was struck by the look in Mr. Truman's eyes as he remembered and grieved the loss of the Commander-in-Chief. Jim went to Guam after the 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan toward the end of the war. He was then sent both to the island of Saipan and then to Marcus Island in the Pacific to secure both of those islands at the end of World War II. It wasn't long after that he was back on Guam, where he and a couple of other servicemen were in charge of the war criminal stockade. Upon completing these assignments in August of 1946, Jim came home to Sunderland. He arrived at the family's North Main Street farm to join his parents, Walter and Ruth, and his younger brother, Gordon, and began farming for a living. It was just a few months later, in October, that he married his sweetheart, Agnes Fitch, and was married for more than 60 years. Jim has been very active in our community, in our town. He has been an outspoken person at town meeting at times, but he has been one of our stalwarts and one of our fathers here in town ever since I've been in town, which is now some 35 years. And both he and Peggy contribute a lot to our community, and we are deeply honored to have you with us here today and to honor you as Sunderland's oldest veteran. Thank you. At this time, I would like to call upon State Representative Steve Kulik to bring some words of welcome We are without the presence of Senator Rosenberg this evening. He's on the Mass Pike, desperately trying to beat the Memorial Day traffic to get here, but he let Steve know a little while ago that he's probably not going to be here in time for the ceremony. But we are very honored to have both Steve and Stan here almost every year for this parade and this ceremony. And Steve, if you have a few words.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone. I do bring greetings and regrets from Stan Rosenberg that he's unable to be with us. The Senate was meeting until after midnight last night doing the budget and wasn't able to leave the State House till late this afternoon. And I know he hates to miss it. We've been coming to this event every year. In my case, this is the 21st year, and I know Stan a couple of years more than that. And it's always an honor to attend and to participate in this event with you, as it really kicks off Memorial Day weekend and the observances that are held around the Pioneer Valley. And although the venue is different this year, I know the feeling and the sentiments in this room are exactly the same as they always are, no matter whether it's during the parade route or in the ceremony at the cemetery. And one of the beautiful things about participating in this event in Sunderland every year, and we can see it right before our eyes, is that it brings all of the generations of Sunderland together to remember what Memorial Day is all about. Honoring those who have served, particularly those who have given their lives in service to our country and our community, but also an opportunity to thank all of the veterans in the community, and especially this year honoring Jim Williams for their service. What they have contributed to our democracy, to our freedom, and to the way we were able to live our lives in a community like Sunderland is incalculable. We owe them a great debt of thanks. We should never forget their service. Coming together on Memorial Day, particularly people of all ages like are here in this room now, is a testimony to how much we value their service, their sacrifice, and the sacrifices that their families have made as well. So thank you for coming together every year as a community that treats its veterans very specially and remembers those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's always a pleasure to be with you. So I wish you all a very happy, safe, and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
We started a tradition a few years ago of honoring the top male and female students at Frontier Regional High School in the graduating class. And this year we have two of our students, one of which is currently not able to be with us. I believe he's catching in the bottom of the 7th inning at a baseball game in Athol, Nico Ames. Nico was a three-sport athlete, varsity athlete at Frontier, soccer, basketball, and baseball. And his plans for next year include attending Franklin Pierce College. The top female student from Sunderland at Frontier this year and graduating is Annalie Nukovic. Annalie is a member of the National Honor Society Executive Committee, particularly on the committee that looks into what the service projects are that the National Honor Society will perform during that important junior and senior years. Most of them are in the National Honor Society. She also is a member of the Yearbook Club and also a member of the state champion varsity girls volleyball team. Her plans for next year are to attend the Commonwealth College at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst with an eye toward some kind of a career in chemical engineering. So I would like to call upon Annalie to come forward. We usually have the honor students read the Gettysburg Address and the other read in Flanders Field, and she has volunteered to read both of them and share those important words with us on this important Memorial Day weekend. Annalie, congratulations.
The Gettysburg Address is the most famous speech of U.S. President Abraham Lincoln and one of quoted speeches in United States history. It was delivered at the dedication of the Soldiers National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on the afternoon of Thursday, November 19, 1863, during the American Civil War, 4.5 months after the Union armies defeated those of the Confederacy at the decisive Battle of Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln's carefully crafted address, secondary to other presentations that day, came to be regarded as one of the greatest speeches in American history. In just over 2 minutes, Lincoln invoked the principles of human equality espoused by the Declaration of Independence, and redefined the Civil War as a struggle not merely for the Union, but as a new birth of freedom that would bring true equality to all of its citizens. It is especially fitting that we recite it on Memorial Day as a reminder of the cost of our freedom and equality. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little know, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. On May 2nd, 1915, in the second week of fighting and during the second Battle of Ypres, Lieutenant Alexis Helmer was killed by a German artillery shell. He was a friend of the Canadian military doctor, Major John McCrae. It is believed that McCrae began the draft for his famous poem, In Flanders Fields, that evening. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
We began last year a tradition of a patriotic home decorating contest, if you will, along the parade route. Unfortunately, we didn't get to march along that route, but if you travel on School Street, by the town office building and the library, or on South Main Street, you'll see several homes that have been decorated. First prize went to Mrs. Poole at 41 South Main Street. As I drove by yesterday and saw the white crosses on the front lawn, I counted them and saw that it was the number of crosses for the deceased Sunderland residents who have died in service to their country. I've been informed that they're actually clustered in groups by the various wars in which they died. So when you go by and look at that, it's a reflection of the names that we're about to read and the carnations that we're about to lay in honor of those Sunderland residents who died in service to their country. And congratulations on a really, really beautiful front lawn. And the second prize are the folks at 9 School Street. And we had some prizes for them, and we asked that you would drive by. There's a sign in front of each of their houses indicating they were the winner and the runner-up in the contest. And there are several other homes that have been decorated especially for our Memorial Day weekend here in town, and we thank people for participating in that civic pride as well. At this time, I'd like to call on Mr. Ed Hines from the elementary school and some of the Sunderland Elementary School students to lead us in a couple of songs.
Good evening. At this time, I'd like my friends from the Troop 8, is this? Pack 8. Pack 8? Come up here, let's make a rainbow, kids. What do you say? Let's make a nice rainbow so everybody can see. Watch out for... Okay, make a rainbow. You not do that. Do it all the time. Start here, we go moving around. Good. Then we'll step up here. Very nice. And then any of my other students, come and join us. Any of my other kids from school. Yeah, come on, come on. Come on. Yeah. Big smiles, I love it. Folks, we're going to sing 2 patriotic songs, so I'm going to ask you all to rise at this time. Here we go. My country 'tis. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom reign. And our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
At this time, we would like to proceed with the roll call of the deceased. We have a total of 18 Sunderland residents who served beginning in the French and Indian War, and the final One at this point was deceased during the Vietnam War. Others have served in all of the wars in between and even today. The French and Indian War in 1722, Jonathan Bridgman. Samuel Gunn. Nathaniel Montague. Eli Scott. In the Revolutionary War, 60 served and there were no deceased. In the War of 1812, 6 served and there were no deceased. In the Civil War, 85 served and there were 8 deceased. Charles Blodgett. William Farrell. Elliot Puffer. The next 5 who were deceased in the Civil War were 5 that were unknown to us until last year. The first is Fred B. Crocker. James Hill. Martin S. Hubbard. John Jones. Otis D. Munsell.
That's why that's filming. Daddy.
War I, 42 served. There were 2 deceased. Edwin P. Cooley. Antonio Tomasco. In World War II, 161 served. There were 3 deceased. Lawrence Hubbard Bixby. Michael Corpita. Leon Wozniakevitz. In the Korean War, 37 men and 1 woman served. There were no deceased. In the Vietnam War, there was 1 deceased, Richard C. Graves. In the Persian Gulf Desert Storm War, 1 served and no deceased. In the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts, we do not have specific statistics. We have several here in attendance today who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we would like to take a moment of silence now in honor of these who gave of their lives and those who continue to serve, and their families who go through very difficult times when their service men and women are serving and in harm's way. We can have a moment of silence. Now if we could have the honors. Before we conclude our ceremony, I would like to thank those attending, particularly Representative Kulik. I'd like to thank the Deerfield Whately VFW Post and the Hadley American Legion Post for being here and being an honor guard and presenting the colors as well as our gun salute. I'd like to thank Karen Atherton for being here with a couple of trumpeters for our taps. The Sunderland Elementary School for graciously opening its doors to us at the last moment, and for Ed Hines and the children leading us in song. The Sunderland Firemen's Association invites everyone outside after the ceremony for refreshments. As per usual, a different venue. I think the menu is the same. Thank the Police Department, Fire Department, and the Highway Department for their efforts in helping us to plan and make this happen. Flags along Main Street, some traffic control as needed, and the firemen for being on call and ready, and our Firemen's Association with the refreshments. Tom Zanowski for providing us with the PA system and videotaping for cable TV. The Rec Department for the home and bike decorating contest. We will have the bicycle drawings for those young people present outside after the ceremony is over, probably in about 5 or 10 minutes. And we would just like to thank everyone for being here, for our oldest veteran, Jim Williams, and his family being here. And we'd like to ask you all to have an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. But as you open your pools and cook your hot dogs and burgers on the grill and enjoy what should be a good couple of days toward the end of the weekend, let us remember the meaning of that weekend which we've experienced here this evening, as we remember those who have served and given of their lives in service, as well as those who have served and come home, not always in one piece, and those who continue to serve. We are grateful, we remember, we will not forget. I would now ask for the colors to precede us out as we close our ceremony.
Flag hand up. Order, march. Left wing, march.